Wealth is a Choice podcast. Boom.
Let's listen to it. Let's listen to it.
All right, Brad Ziegler, thanks for being here today. This is James Studinger and photographer Brad, who I first met, when was that? I think 2008. I think it was 2008.
I think it was 2008.
It was either right before the financial crisis or right after. I know I was writing a book before the crisis hit, and then I don't remember if I got it published right before or after, but
I'm almost certain it was 2008, leading right up to
yeah.
the downturn.
Yeah.
And I got a call or an email from Chris,
Okay.
because she said, my husband's writing this book,
Yeah.
Wealth is a Choice.
Boom.
And we saw your photographs and we liked them, and would this be something of interest to you to come in and do some portraits of James for his book? And I went, well, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Not knowing the financial disparity that was about to hit all of us.
Yeah.
And that was incredibly timely because, in all honesty, after talking with you, which is a major component to how we make portraits, it's much more psychological, you made me think about a few things differently, and just the title of your book.
Oh, wow.
So that stuck with me,
Okay.
and literally echoed many, many times thinking about, how am I going to get out of this?
Yeah. So what is it? 17 years later or so, and I don't think we've ever talked about money at all. So we're not here today to. We're kind of here today to talk a little bit about money
Sure.
in the philosophy behind Wealth is a Choice. But I'm looking for like really good, talented people in the trade that they are in, and looking for similarities to those skills and how they relate to the behaviors that make people successful with money. And so we'll be talking today, and you'll be educating me on what makes, I hope you don't pat you on the back, what makes you so good, but and along the way, because a lot of what I've noticed in life is that there's so many behaviors that we do in our business or in our hobby or with our kids or with some event or athletics or something, and people can be very, very good at that. And I'm not saying you are, but at the same time, what I'm not saying you are is not good at money. But so somebody
Right.
could be really good at something, and that would be directly relatable to money, but they might see money as a foreign concept, even though it's like 95% the same behavior. So I'm excited to hear, what makes you good at what you do, and please bring us into the world of photography, and then we'll see how that relates to financial behaviors.
Well, I started as a fashion photographer. I did an internship out in California, and I was exposed to that type of photography, and it made sense to me. I had zero intention of getting involved in photographics at all. But the photographer that I worked for paid me a huge compliment, and we were shooting catalogs, and we were shooting all over the country and out in Hawaii in these beautiful, beautiful places. I had this broken, 1971 Canon TX. It didn't work. It just made photographs, but the light meter didn't work. I couldn't tell what I was doing. And he gave me all these rolls of slightly expired slide film, which was worth a fortune. And he's like, we're going to be in all these great places. You should shoot this film. So I did. I didn't know what I was doing. And after several weeks of this, he laid them all out on a slide table and looked at them and just kind of looked at me and said, you have a photographic eye. You're either born with that or you're not. And it's a tough reality for a lot of people that want to get into this industry. You're either born with it or not. If you are, you can get better. If you're not born with it, there's a really good chance you're not going to be able to pursue the path. It's just something I happen to agree with. Other people may argue with me. But he saw this in me, and he said, if you want to pursue this, I'll help you. But you have a gift. And so consider it. And I instantly, it was like falling in love. I was like, absolutely. I think this is the coolest lifestyle. And Kevin is his name, is a brilliant entrepreneur. So it wasn't about the photographics. That was part of it, certainly. I was fascinated by these beautiful images and the striking nature of them and the impact that they could have on you. But really what I saw him cultivating was this life of freedom because he was a freelancer and he made his own schedule, and you might work hard, but then you get to go play hard. And like sometimes the client would be like, oh, stay in the hotel for an extra couple days, and they'd pay for it. Or we're going to take you out to dinner tonight, or whatever it was. So we'd work like dogs, but then I'd have, 5-6 days off to go run around Southern California, do whatever I wanted. I just made a pile of money, go buy a new camera, go rollerblade up and down the Strand, whatever it was. And I just sort of fell in love with this notion of work hard and then reap the benefit of it. And that level of intensity that I put into my career directly affected my earning, my career path, and where I decided I wanted to go. You could take it as seriously or non-seriously as you decided. It was completely up to you, and it was, in my view, ultimate freedom. I had tried to work in an office before that, right out of college, and it was after that, and it faltered miserably. Just not my environment.
I got to sidetrack for a second because the first thing you said is you got a compliment, and isn't it wild in life how you receive a compliment on something and how that can change the direction of your path?
Yes.
It's crazy.
Completely.
I think I had one professor at my college told me I was a good writer. I think her name was Mrs. Gilmartin. I think that's what it was. And I had 100 people tell me I'm a horrible writer, and I got bad grades at writing, and I can't do grammar and English and whatever. But if she hadn't told me that, because when I went to write the book, everybody told me I was bad. But I'm like, Mrs. Gilmartin told me I was a good writer. But it's amazing how you get a compliment, and that can change the direction or makes you think what is possible. And just a reminder that when we all see that in somebody, we should make sure we say it.
And shouldn't be,
because it's important.
That should be the thing that we concentrate on. But instead, as human beings who are like so attracted to flaws, what do? We concentrate on the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a perfect segue.
Okay.
Because there were other things that I was told and struggled with in high school that still stick with me. That there's still a stigma in my life. But look at the good things, and they did the opposite, right? They catapulted me. They did something, just as you mentioned. And you remember this great compliment. I remember, because I have a very strange path in life, I went to military school, and while I was there, I had a choir master who said something similar. He's like, you have artistic tendencies, and although you could go forth with the military if you want to, why don't you explore some of those notions? Because I think you might find that you enjoy them. You're good at this. You're good at the military too, and you could be fine with that, but maybe you should explore this because it's hard to look back and go, oh, I should have tried that. Regret's a tough thing to live with. But he paid me a huge compliment, indelible, and it lasted, and it still lasts today, just as Kevin did. So we tend to concentrate only on those negatives. But you're right, if we start concentrating more on the positives, I think that is more important. Yeah.
So you said something too on you either have maybe the eye for photography or not. And I do think people can feel like they either get money or they don't get money.
Yeah.
But part of the goal of podcasts like this are to remove the mystery of money so that at least people can gain enough knowledge about money that they feel comfortable navigating the unknown a little bit. You know what I mean? So whether you're inherently, like, I hate to use the guy's name because he's quoted a lot, whether you're inherently Warren Buffett or not, you know what I mean? Everybody quotes him. But whether you're inherently really good at money, you at least have to understand the framework for it to be somewhat successful and get help where you need the help, but at least understand the framework of it.
Oftentimes, I tell my makeup artists and my stylists, thank you guys so much. I'm only as good as the crew that I hire. I can only do so much with the subject. I can only do so much with the lights. And if I've got a great assistant, a great tech, and great crew, I'm ensuring my success that much more.
Okay.
I would say it's the same thing with money.
Okay.
Because you got to know what you understand and what you don't, and be able to admit it and go, I'm not great at this, so I'm going to employ somebody who is great at this and be able to maybe spot those people and feel confident in making those decisions, maybe get some basic experience or education with it. So you go, I know I don't want that, I think I want this.
Yeah, and there's where the framework is, where you know you can manage those people you're hiring, because
Right.
you have some understanding
Yes.
for what the goal is.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you want to explore what makes people good at what they do, and maybe even, if I can say, masters of their trade.
Right.
You're a master of your trade. I'm a master of my trade. These are wildly different journeys that we've been on. What makes me good at mine is I think it's interesting that part of it's technical, part of it's artistic, and part of it's intuitive. And being able to harness all those things simultaneously can be a bit tricky. When I was younger, it was all about the feel of it. Then eventually I had to go for the look of it. Then there's the business component of it. And it took me a long time to...
Was that the toughest part?
Yes, hands down.
It can be, yeah.
It still is.
Yeah.
And I'm not great at it.
Yeah.
That's where I rely on other people sometimes for assistance. And even when I have to edit my own work aesthetically, I am not great at that. I'm way too connected with it. So it taught me a lesson. When you're deeply emotionally connected to something, rely on other resources.
Okay.
Because you can trick yourself. You can easily talk yourself out of something. You might feel that something is really important to be able to showcase, and other people could care less.
Okay.
It doesn't affect them at all. And, so where that might translate to money is I own every device that Apple makes.
Okay.
And I think their products are spectacular.
Okay.
I use most of them how they fit me, but I don't use them nearly to their capacity. That would make me want to buy Apple stock.
Yeah.
That would be a very bad decision.
Okay.
Because you don't buy stock on emotion, you buy it on performance.
That would have been fine, though.
It would have.
It probably still is. Yeah.
Yeah, but you wanted to buy it like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But I don't trust myself to do that.
Yeah.
Because I am too emotionally charged by it. I would do it based on whether I like the product or not, because
Yeah.
I think it's strong.
Yeah.
But how is it being managed? How is the business being run? Is it performing well? That's different.
Yeah.
And what's going to affect that in, say, the next 2 to 5 years or 10 years or long-term outlook after that? So I was fortunate that my dad was a furniture rep for Lazy Boy. And so he ran his own business. He was an independent rep. And after he separated from Lazy Boy, he went with another company for a while, but he started getting involved in investing on his own because he saw what it did for him and he understood the power of it. And I don't know exactly when he started doing that. I would guess probably late 80s. He really took hold of it, educated himself on it, and started to understand compound interest. And once he truly understood that, he dove deep into it. And he got so good at investing in himself that he was able to retire early from a company called FlexSteel and move down to North Carolina and just basically live on his investments. I know another guy younger than me. I'm just a month shy of 51.
Okay.
I know a guy several years younger than me who is essentially retired at this point
Okay.
because he's done the same thing. And he does not need to work, although he may want to. But I have so much respect for that because, again, it gives you freedom. He gets to make the decision. When you have the decision to make a move, that's ultimate power. That's ultimate freedom. You don't have to. You're not being projected into it by need or anything else. You just get to make the decision.
Okay.
That's what I've been chasing my whole life. If I want to work, I get to work.
Yeah.
If I don't want to work, I don't have to work. I can
Right.
take the day off and go ride my bike.
Right.
But I also am known for not telling my clients no.
Yeah.
I'm a freelancer, and
Yeah.
so you have to be careful with that.
So I've got an interesting story regarding individual stock. You know my boys,
Yeah.
Eller and Owen. You met them when they were really little, taking the picture. But they had a piggy bank and a brokerage account. They didn't get a bank account until they were in high school, almost going off to college, because I didn't see the point.
Yeah.
I didn't see the point of bank account.
Right.
And I know a lot of people think that that's, everybody should have a bank account, whatever. But to me, I wanted them to have a tangible connection to investing. And you get a tangible investing when you buy individual stocks.
Right.
And regardless if it's the perfect stock or not, nobody like dreams about what their mutual fund might do. But when you buy an individual stock, you just like you have a tangible connection to the Apple products and you know how good they are. So I would always tell people, buy stock that you know, you use, you love, and you want to keep for 20 years.
Okay.
And in keeping it for 20 years, that's the thing I throw in there to get people from
Yep.
trying to be a day trader or getting off a hot tip or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? That you really want to own for 20 years, whether or not you do. So anyways, one time Owen was really little, and Chris and I were having coffee downstairs, and in the morning, and he came down. He said, he was all excited. He said, I couldn't sleep. I was, awake all night thinking about, I want to buy some Nintendo stock in my brokerage account because Nintendo's coming out with a new product, as a new Switch or something, and they're coming out within 3 months, and I want to buy the stock now because I think the stock will go up. And then if it goes up, I know you won't let me liquidate to pay for it, but in my mind, I'll feel like Nintendo bought the stock, bought the new Switch for me because I made money in the stock, whatever. And it may not have gone up. It just so happened it did, but it may not have. But that direct, visceral connection with investing is what I was hoping for by buying individual stock. And so I actually do recommend, especially when people are early investing or young, really young, I really encourage people to buy an individual stock.
You might be getting me in trouble.
Because it makes this, just like we're used to tangible things, but it makes it more tangible, and then it can inspire people, because it's about creating that behavior of like investing often.
Yeah, I see that.
And early, and then it can jumpstart that behavior.
So that brings up something else that I'm very interested in, and I think what I get from photography, and it's cause and effect.
Yeah.
And cause and effect can be incredibly powerful. So I still love to shoot for magazines, which is not very profitable.
Okay.
Magazines, to dispel a myth, magazines do not pay well.
Yeah.
But the payoff is that you're getting published and your name is in print.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
And it's good advertising and marketing and recognition.
That's probably how Chris found you.
It probably is.
Yeah.
But in fact, I'm sure it was. I think she mentioned that she saw me an hour. But anyway, when you can reap that reward and you're seeing the cause and effect in real time, it's very powerful.
Oh yeah.
Very powerful. So, as you know, I've worked a lot with World War II veterans.
Yes.
And my dear friend Bill, who is turning 101 in November.
Thank you, Bill.
Was a B-17 navigator, and I facilitated a flight on a B-17 with he and his buddies, and took him to Washington, D.C., and he still tells me to this day, and that was back around the same time. It was like 2008 to like 2012, somewhere in there. 2006 to 2010-ish. He still tells me that those were better days than coming home from the war.
Oh, man.
Like, it could make me cry right now.
Yeah, wow.
And it totally brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
That type of cause and effect is an example of how powerful that can be.
Okay.
And I get a lot of that when people recognize me on the street and they, hey, you made a portrait of me, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
You really captured what we were trying to do, or maybe it was some article that we did for a restaurant owner, who knows? But the fact that they remember it, it had an impression on them, and it delivers that response to me, that's the reward.
Okay.
It's much more emotional than just transactional.
Okay.
And this goes into ultimately why I think I'm good at what I do. It's not about, I know this is a financial podcast, it's not about the money.
Yeah.
I have to run a business. Absolutely, I have to make money, I have to make a profit. But it is way more about the experience that I have with the person, the fact that we are building something together, that we are doing something together. It's not just me showing up, making a photograph, going away and delivering an invoice.
Right.
That's one small component of it. The larger component is that it's kind of this crazy dance that we have to do. Because my subjects typically aren't photographed often, so they're nervous. And everybody's conscientious of how they're going to show up on a photograph. And especially when you get into really, really high-end executives, they're very concerned about this. And they want to make sure that they're projecting the right essence and showcasing themselves appropriately. So it's very guarded. And I have to make sure that I can get them to drop that guard in a very healthy way and let them know that I'm not here to exploit you. We're here to do something together. We're going to craft this. We're going to make something that you're proud of and that I'm proud of. And if either one of us isn't feeling it, we're going to pivot. We'll figure it out. And that took a long time to understand. So it's understanding your emotions, understanding cause and effect, and how that can have such a pivotal role. And then on top of that, knowing how to trust your instinct. And you can't just trust your instinct totally raw. You can have faith and trusting your instinct when you intuitively know. And so I have lived, breathed, and been obsessed with photography for the better part of creeping up on 30 years. And I know when stuff is going to work and I know when it's not. You can feel it. And when you can trust your instinct, and I'll bet you can say the same thing about financial planning. You've backed it up, you know, and despite somebody being like, oh, I'm really not comfortable, you can go, trust me on this one. Just trust me. I know it's step outside of the box for you, but trust me on this one and it's going to work.
Yeah.
I've done this for a long, long time, and in my experience, it's going to work.
Right.
And once they see that in your eyes and they feel it coming from you because you're being honest, and they can feel it. We're animals. We have instincts, and we know when somebody's telling us something factual or when they really, truly believe it versus when they're just trying to sell us something.
Right.
And if I'm trying to just sell something to somebody,
Yeah.
it won't work.
Right.
They will not respond to me.
What do you think that on that cause and effect? What's the turn time? Days, weeks, 1 day, a shoot?
It can be the same day.
Yeah.
I have explained this many times, and I'll have a big monitor set up so people can see the images large as I shoot. And there is nothing greater, and you can feel it. And I don't know how to explain it any other way other than it's like falling in love. And you know when you got the shot.
Right.
And you can see it in the person in front of the camera. You can see how they respond, and you can feel it. And so I get to turn the monitor on and be like, look, we just killed it.
Yeah.
We just nailed it. That's the shot. Did you feel it?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, I did feel something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but it's just like if you've fallen in love, you know what that feeling is like. And if you haven't, you're going to go, I don't know. I think I have.
Yeah.
So it's this weird intuition that we have, and being able to tap into that emotional side of yourself and trust your feelings and trust your instincts and have faith that they're not lying to you. That's time and expertise and becoming a master of your trade.
So this is one of the most difficult parts about money, is the cause and effect can take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
I did a hike one time from Lake Superior to Lake Michigan through the UP. And my only rule was I couldn't go on a man-made road or trail any longer than to cross it. So I just went right through the middle of the woods, right through all that thick-ass stuff. And I had topo maps, and on my topo maps and a compass, and on my topo maps following contours of the earth and looking for ridges and good swamp crossings or river crossings and everything. I had a dot, and the dots were on a unique topographic area, but basically every half mile or mile. And so every half mile or mile for 70 miles or so, I accomplished a goal. I found my dot. You know what I mean? I knew I know I am where I think I should be. And the cause and effect was literally every 10 minutes to 45 minutes. And I think you're kind of describing that too. It's very exciting.
Oh yeah.
And you see the results of what you're doing. And when it comes to money, I mean, the cause and effect on a bad idea, unfortunately, happens a lot sooner than a good idea.
Yeah.
A good idea can take 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
I'm working on one right now.
How do I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one.
It is.
I don't know how to make that more tangible for people. You can forecast all you want, but bottom line is if the cause and effect happened faster with money, there'd be a lot more richer people out there.
There are graphs that you can view, though, that do show, from my initial investment.
You believe it, though. You know what I mean?
Well, that's true. Good point.
You look at that thing and say, okay, that'll be nice 20 years from now.
Yeah,
I think that's the toughest aspect about money. It's
I would
such a
agree with
delayed
you.
gratification.
But I think that could also be the component that we're talking about where you have to trust your instincts.
I know. That's like when you're saying that, like, you know, like,
so hard.
trust me, this
Yeah.
is what's going to happen. And it is.
Yeah.
It is what's going to happen, you know, but
most people
Yeah.
are going to go, well, can you prove that to me?
yeah, right.
Ah.
Yeah. And nor would compliance ever let me say it to you.
Right.
But,
So it gets really tricky.
yeah.
But I would also say that this is why we became friends,
Yeah.
because we both found something that we enjoyed, endurance riding. Keyword there is endurance.
Yeah.
And endurance is really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I hadn't tested my endurance for a while until the Tour de Youth,
Okay.
which I think is a really good exercise every couple of years. Even if I don't get to do it, I have to go test my endurance, because there's a saying that I just happened to fall in love with. It was in Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay.
And Lawrence puts out a match with his fingertips, and you can hear it sizzle.
Okay.
And it's this brilliant cut in film. It's
Okay.
amazing. And it's a dissolve to the sun rising in the desert. And it's just incredible. It's such a beautiful moment in cinema. And the guy that he's with at the time, another military officer, says, "Good God, man, doesn't that hurt?" And he says, "Ah, yes, but the trick is not minding."
Okay.
So going through military school, we are constantly pushed to a level that you don't think you can survive.
Okay.
It's endurance, because it's like an 18-week period of being mentally and physically tried in every possible way that you can imagine. You have to study. You have to become a good cadet. You have to learn how to be a cadet in this new environment, and you have to earn your place in the Corps of Cadets. So you have to learn all this plebe knowledge, they call it. You have this little book called the Guide On, and you have to learn all this stuff that you have to be able to recite on command from any upperclassman at any time. You could be walking down the hallway and it doesn't matter. They're going to stop you and ask you, "What's the cadet resolution?" And if you fail, you're going to be disciplined.
Okay.
So you learn rapidly. You'll hear the Marines talk about this a lot. Embrace the suck.
Okay.
And you just have to slog through it. You're not going to die. It's going to be okay. Is it going to hurt? Absolutely. And as soon as you accept the fact that it's going to be painful, but that you can deal with it, and you just push the pain aside as much as possible, you can figure it out. And I think when you're talking about any form of endurance, that applies.
Yep.
Whether it's riding a bike, hiking through the woods with just a topo map, getting those little nuggets of certainty of some sort,
Right.
make it more tolerable. And in investing, when you can get those nuggets, that's going to allow you, I think, to more painlessly endure the length of time that you have to give that money to grow, so that you can see it turn into what you anticipated and hoped it would. But if you check it every day, you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah. Well, related to that too, on like what those nuggets are, I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the challenge. Like I was talking to one lady about her 401k, and it was worth less than it was the year before. This is
Yeah.
a little while back. And I said, "Yeah, but how many more shares of the investments in your 401k do you own?" It's like, "What do you mean?" So we added up like how many. She's got 5 different investments in there, and we added up how many shares of each one she had. I don't remember what it was. Let's say she had 10,000 shares of XYZ,
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, she had 12,000 shares of XYZ. I'm like, so the account is worth less, but we celebrate the wrong things sometimes. XYZ investment's going to
Yeah.
become more valuable again when we get through this bad cycle, and you own more of it than you did before. And it's hard to like recognize the shares because we celebrate the value of
The
the
dollar
account.
value,
You know what I
of
mean?
course,
The dollar
yeah.
amount. It's easy to see, but anyways, I think that's maybe the trick is in finding those nuggets that show progress.
Yeah.
Even though when the progress we want to measure all the time is a dollar amount, and that is not always going to be.
I agree. And I
Proper.
think there's one other component to that too. Not to get too philosophical on this, but there are certain things we're being projected at by companies that just want us to buy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're giving us these
And they're good at it.
There's demarcations
Yeah.
that, look, you're going to be worth this.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel good in the short term,
Right.
but that may not be a proper marker.
Right.
And so again, you have to try to whittle down what's real and what isn't.
Yeah.
And in this case, it sounds like the shares,
Yeah.
but that's not an easy thing to look at. And I understand why somebody would be alarmed by that.
Yeah.
but looking outside the box.
Like it's almost like on the statement if it said the percentage share growth
Yeah.
instead of just the percentage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But it can't do it that way because you sell an investment sometimes and replace it with another one. So
Yeah.
it's not that simple, but nonetheless.
Well, you made me think when we discussed getting together to talk about this stuff. And I mentioned to you that I actually struggle with numbers.
Okay.
I have dyslexia. I have struggled with math since I was in first grade.
Okay.
And that was always a major stigma. And unfortunately, at my age, they didn't really know what to do with kids with dyslexia then. I also learn very differently. I'm a photographic learner. I need images and pictures.
Right.
Don't
Not a
ask me to
textbook?
read a textbook.
Okay.
This is horrible for me.
Rather watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I fortunately had a teacher in high school who recognized this and got me in some more advanced classes to prove to the rest of the administration that I was not a remedial level kid. Just
Right.
when it came to mathematics, I was struggling. But put me in advanced level science classes, and I was doing great as long as they were training me via books that had all kinds of really detailed pictures in them. That I could understand. And interaction with the instructors, with the teachers. That's what I needed, was real world conversation. So I'm going somewhere with this. I have never been diagnosed with this, but I do possess a lot of the attributes that people that have ADHD do. Now, there's been a lot of talk about this, and I would never say that I have it, but one of those attributes is recognizing patterns. That's very financial.
Okay.
Excuse me. That's also something that deals with marketing. You're going to see patterns in marketing. Well, that's a major component of my business.
Right.
As a photographer, I have to be able to see what trends, what doesn't. I have to know how to market my own business. So what's working and what isn't. And that doesn't mean that I'm brilliant at it, but I definitely look at it from a different perspective. So if you go back to high school,
Not just the consumer.
exactly. I was looking at things in a very different way. And yet my teachers couldn't recognize that I just needed a different way to learn. So all this time, I've had this stigma with numbers. And I go, I don't want to touch math. I don't want to touch math. Numbers are bad. They scare me. They freak me out. No, I just happen to see them backwards more often than not. And so I have to be really careful about what I deal with. If I'm tired, if I'm fatigued, if I'm distracted, I really have to check my work. I've paid bills incorrectly because I'm trying to do too much and rushed.
Yeah.
And so you realize I paid a bill completely incorrectly online. So I have to be very careful with that. But the trade-off is that I recognize patterns and I see that. And I think that's where the intuition comes that I'll go, I don't know what it is, but that's the direction we want to go.
Okay.
And I might not feel confident speaking solely about the numbers as you would. But when we talk about the larger picture of it and the direction we want it to move, the strategy behind it, that I understand.
Okay.
That makes perfect sense to me. So I think a lot of people probably struggle with this. And again, if you can tap into your intuition and your gut feelings and know when something feels right and start learning how to recognize that in yourself, I would say that's a key component to this.
Okay.
And at least for what I do, and I think it lends itself to this as well.
Okay.
That's the only connection that I can see.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But as you were mentioning, looking for connections, I think that that's one of them.
Okay.
And there is a very high number of people in my industry that are both dyslexic, probably ADHD, or at least on the cusp of it in some way, possess a lot of traits of it. I don't know that it's something I would ever need to be medicated for, but I'm pretty easily distracted.
Okay.
Like, oh, there's a bird.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
We put out bird food today.
it does give
And when
you...
I did put it out, I was like, I wonder if this is going to be distracting.
I think that some of those negative attributes also yield positive attributes. And so we're constantly dealing with the up and down and the balance, right?
Yeah.
Negative and positive, negative and positive.
Yeah.
Somewhere in this, there's a magic culmination, if you will.
Right.
And I think I'm probably on the cusp of it where I know where not to trust myself
Yeah.
and to call in the experts
Yeah.
and get help. But I also know how to trust my instincts and my emotions on it. And I know when to put myself in check, and I know when to hopefully move all in on it.
Yeah.
You go, I don't know, it feels right. What do you think? And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with asking other people, what do you think?
Yeah.
But know how to trust those people.
Right.
And make sure you're asking the right people, and maybe a good control group. You know, the best editing I'm ever going to get in my images is asking a whole bunch of wildly different people for their opinion of them and trying to figure out where does it meet in the middle.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Libra. I'm constantly trying to balance everything.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask people that have nothing to do with photographics, and then I'm going to ask a photographer. And like a photographer will pick it apart like crazy and start
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
all technical with it. But then there's other people that are going to look at me like, I don't know, I just like it.
Right.
And it's pretty interesting to see how that levels out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
So I think somewhere in there is this magic mix.
Okay.
And I think just as we can demystify cameras, which are ultimately simplistic mathematical tools, why on earth did I gravitate to this? I'm terrified of numbers,
Yeah.
but yet a camera made sense to me. Now, there's a big difference between Canon and Nikon. Canon's layout, I gravitated towards when somebody put one in front of me. A Nikon is more technical. Nikons are more favorable with journalists for the most part. I don't know if it's exactly the same way this way anymore, but definitely when I was beginning my career, like the journalists all had Nikons. They were super technical. Canons were fashion photographers and sports photographers. They weren't nearly as technical. So to me, it made sense, and it was easier with dyslexia to figure out those menus and the dials and everything. But I struggled with a Nikon. So you can see how that would dovetail and turn into two very different classes of photographers. You've got the technicians and you've got the artists.
Okay.
Okay? And I shouldn't have been in either one. But I made the Canon work for me. And now you get into lighting, and that's even more mathematical. I mean, we have all these scales built into photography that are numbers that make no sense, and nobody even knows what they mean. F-stops, there's no pattern to them.
I know. I never got the
2.8,
language. I never
4,
got the language down.
5.6,
Yeah.
8, 11, 16, 22. Like, there's no mathematical sequential form to them. So we don't, as long as you don't care what they're there for and just what they mean, make it work.
Okay.
It demystifies it. Most people are going to go, well, what does that mean? Who cares? If it works, it works. I can tell you what it does because the camera's just a tool. And so all I had to do was make that tool work. Finance is the same thing. It's just a tool. And as long as you can figure out a way to make it work for you to understand it better, who cares why?
Okay.
Stop asking why. I remember reading in World War I and World War II, part of the problem with the U.S. soldiers, around the world, other soldiers don't do this, but U.S. soldiers constantly ask why. So, you know, you get a command and the soldier will be like, well, why do you want me to do that?
Okay.
No other nation did this. We have this innate sense in us that we're curious for whatever reason, and we want to know why. But if you take away that and just go, you don't need to know why, just know that it works. All you need to do is know how to make it work.
Right.
That's what I did. Same thing with lights. I see other photographers that they have their light source and then they have their subject. And they've got strings on it, and they're like, well, if the light is this far away from you, it's this f-stop. If it's this far, I could never do that. That would drive me crazy.
Okay.
But that's super mathematical. It's
Okay.
super technical. And they do that on film sets. Film sets, when you're making a movie, are hyper technical.
Okay.
I played guitar in college and high school. I was terrible at taking lessons, but I could feel my way through it.
Right.
It's the same thing with making photographs. I can feel my way through it. I can just figure out what makes sense and what works, and then I can figure out how to reverse engineer it afterwards.
Okay.
I don't need to know why, it just does. Now, as I got more technical with it, I started to want to know why, and then I could be curious and reverse engineer it. But in order to do the job, all I had to do was figure out how to make it work.
Right.
I demystified it. It wasn't confusing to me anymore. And then I could have a career at it. I think anybody can do that with financial tools.
I do that with fly fishing.
Yeah.
I could put that fly where I want it, but You can't tell me what kind of I can't tell you what kind of cast it was that got there. Yeah,
Well, it's probably wonderfully imperfect, right?
yeah, yeah. It look. I mean, it gets there.
It gets the job done.
Yeah, but the technical aspect of like what type of
Right.
I don't even know the names of the different casts.
I would say we're probably both result driven.
Yeah,
And that is probably a link between these two things.
right.
I don't care how I get there. I don't care what the cast looks like. I just want to catch the fish.
Yeah,
And you might have somebody else tell me, you're doing it wrong, but it's working.
right,
So who cares?
right.
And you will get this every time you put work out in front of somebody. You're going to get critiqued. I get critiqued all the time. And finally, I stopped taking it personally. And there are going to be some people that like what you do and some that don't. If it works for you, that's all that matters.
Okay.
Doesn't matter how you get there. It doesn't matter what the cast looks like. If you put it in front of the trout and the trout rises, you're good to go.
Okay.
That's kind of all I care about. Like,
Yeah.
if the image looks great, I might have somebody walk up to me like, I'm a photographer too, and man, that looks like you're doing it wrong. I don't know, the shot looks awesome.
Yeah.
So who cares? For whatever reason, it works. And that goes into a personal philosophy that I have about stop trying to make everything so perfect and embrace the beautiful imperfection that makes us all incredible human beings. Instead of trying to homogenize everything like we see in society right now, embrace those imperfections, because that could yield an incredible result if you allow it to work. But you got to be able to step back from it. That's a very hard thing to do because you're relinquishing control. But if it works and you see it, hey, let's just try it. In my industry, I had to push everything to the point at which it fails on set. So as I might have 10 lights on somebody, and I've got a makeup artist there and people watching and all this stuff happening, and there's a lot of pressure on you.
Okay.
And you have to push it far enough to the point at which it breaks, and everybody's going to see it on the big monitor, and then you go, okay, let's dial it back.
Okay.
We just hit the sweet spot, but you've got to go a step further because it could also yield an amazing result. And how are you going to know? So that's how you can, I think, begin to start to trust your intuition. You push it so far that it breaks,
Okay.
and you can see the proof in it,
Okay.
but it was worth it to take that extra step and then dial back and go, that's it, we're dialed in, we're good.
Okay.
And we can see it right here. If I do anything more, and the client's probably going to ask me, we just saw what happens.
Okay. Is that an uncomfortable moment?
It's a horrible moment.
Is it? Okay.
For me, maybe other people are okay with it, but I have become more desensitized to it because I recognized the importance of it, and
Okay.
I saw it in practice. So telling my client, I'm going to push this, let's see what happens.
Right.
It may totally fail, but it could be the coolest thing we've ever seen.
Okay.
And I think it's even harder when I have to tell a subject that.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to see themselves lit up like a Christmas tree in the worst
Right,
possible
right.
way.
Yeah.
Then you go, oh my God, no, that's horrible.
Especially when somebody needs to like really do an about face on their finances, I would recommend that they go all in for a month or two. Like, my God, I mean, you probably have enough food in your cupboard to eat for a month. Yeah, I mean, maybe not exactly. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just go all in for a month or two. But it's painful. But I wonder if that's at all, because it hurts a little bit. It's
It does.
painful and it's uncomfortable. But then
That's the
you see
endurance.
your limit.
Yep.
You know, you see the limit, you see what went too far, and then you can find something that works.
Yeah.
People don't like to do that, though.
They-
I don't know how many people I've ever recommended that to, that they actually do it.
Yeah, they don't. But
But on the other side, they do way too little.
yeah,
They're not doing nearly enough, you know, and just push it for a moment.
I would say that that's a really good segue to cycling, because we're all teched out on this stuff now. We've got
Yeah.
heart rate monitors, and you can see, like, I know where my heart rate is going to spike on a hill, and I know when it's going to start to feel really uncomfortable. I also know where I'm going to go, okay, now I need a break. I need to
Right.
recover my heart rate. And you know the pain's coming because you can see it coming up.
Right.
So when you know the data and you know what it's going to feel like, and you again demystify this, okay, it's
Right.
going to hurt.
Right.
Or it's going to get to a point where I have to stop for a minute and recover my heart rate.
Right.
That might help them. But
Yeah.
if they've never done it before, so that's kind of where you get into that, I have to break it first,
Yeah.
to be able to prove to myself that I know I can do it.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to break it. That's what it feels like, looks like, feels like, whatever that may be.
Did you feel that at Ramsey?
Oh, God.
So just so everybody doesn't know, we've got this bike ride Tour de Upe that I've been doing since 2018, 120 miles a day,
Yeah.
for 10 days in the UP, and you came and joined this year you were able to get 3 days
Yes.
out from your busy schedule. But going up Ramsey at the end of day 3 into Ironwood.
Was it 120 miles in?
Yeah, 120 miles in. That's a longer day. It's getting people ready for what's going to happen in 2 days.
Yeah.
But that is not necessary for everybody, but it's necessary for a lot of people to go through Ramsey in order to be ready for what's about to happen.
Yeah, and even myself, I learned a tremendous amount about myself on those 3 days.
Okay.
Because I'd kind of forgotten. It'd been a long time since I'd done long rides like this.
Yeah.
And in prepping for that, I went to a bike shop to pick up some tires. And I was telling the guy that I was prepping to do this. And I'm like, my longest day has only been 110.
Yeah.
And he goes, do you know what the difference is? It's nothing.
Okay.
It's just nutrition, man. Like
Okay.
if you can do 110, you can do 130.
Yeah.
The elevation was a little different.
Yeah. And it was hot.
And it was real
It was
hot.
a hot day.
But you do rapidly learn that your body is way more capable than your brain thinks it is.
Oh yeah.
And that was a lesson that I learned at Valley Forge Military College. Same
Okay.
thing, the first day we were there, they made us go run like 5 or 6 miles, and I'd never done that in my life.
Yeah.
And I'm coming out of high school and not knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we had a cadet calling cadence as we're running. I'm dying.
Yeah.
And this guy is calling cadence with a cigarette in his mouth.
Oh jeez.
So,
Just to rub it in.
yeah. If you can run cadence and call cadence at the same time, that's why they actually have you sing.
Yeah.
It's expanding your lungs. There's a huge physical benefit to this.
okay.
So in the military, when you keep cadence,
It's like a double workout.
yeah, it's a double workout. That's exactly what's happening. It's working out your lungs. It's
Okay.
stretching your lung capacity. You're going to get a much higher VO2 max as a result of this. So go spend 18 weeks every day jogging, and then go do it and sing at the same
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
And it's a massive difference. So here's this guy singing with a cigarette hanging out of his
Yeah.
mouth, taking a puff on it every couple
Yeah.
of times, and I can barely keep up with him.
Yeah.
That's endurance.
Yeah.
You're training your body to a point where you never thought it could go, and then you realize very, very rapidly that it's a mental game.
Yeah.
It's just purely a mental game. So for the clients that you might be dealing with in finance, yeah, it's unpalatable and it's hard and it's difficult and it's scary, but that doesn't mean that we're not capable of enduring it.
Right.
So endure it for 60 days.
Right.
Watch what happens.
Right.
And then we can assess. And if it breaks, it breaks. We'll recover it.
Yeah.
And just like going up that hill, what did I yell to you? I'm not quitting. I'm just gaining my breath.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just had to get my heart rate down.
Yeah.
And once I did, I was able to make it up.
Yeah.
So you stop, you take a couple of breaths, and then you carry on.
Okay. So I've got a couple more questions around photography, but I don't know if I don't want to take you off.
No, go ahead.
But so you, what do you do with it? How many gigabytes of pictures do you have? Like, how do you organize it? Because I think organizing in life is important in money and everything. But anyways, how in the world do you organize all of that, those assets, those wonderful images?
I have a giant hard drive basically, and I organize them by client, and I even list myself as a client. So if I do personal work, it's for Brad Ziegler Photography. If I do work for Our Detroit, I'm going to classify it through Our Detroit and maybe what magazine. A lot of people don't realize they have a whole family of publications. So they have custom publications they do work with. They have corporate publications, etc. And so wherever those clients are, that's where those assets are. And I can recall them very quickly I use Lightroom. And so I have a library. And each year I do a new library. So I know approximately what year I did work for somebody, but I can also do a search on it to find, I might forget that it was 2023, 2016, whatever it might be. So that's how I organize it. I had, and this could be a great financial lesson, the worst possible thing that could happen to a photographer happened to me. I had what's called a Drobo, which was a redundant drive, and it would copy randomly to multiple drives at the same time. A couple of years ago, you might remember we had a massive swath of electrical storms. And my poor little house from the 1950s, even though I had surge protectors, got whacked by surges like 10 times because the power kept trying to cycle on, cycle on. It fried the surge protectors and then fried my Drobo.
Oh no.
So I had, I think it was 19 terabytes of files on there,
Oh no.
all fried.
Wow.
So I called I had a family member who actually, an extended family member who would actually orchestrate this for ESPN. That was his job. So we called him and he was like, here's what you do. Call Drive Savers. They're out in California. They will recover it. So the whole point of the redundant drives is that no matter what, the information is there. But they had to professionally recover it to the cost of $1,000 a terabyte. I had an ad campaign due with a media buy that had already been done that day, and I couldn't access the information.
Wow.
So I had to explain to my client that I'm locked out of the drive. I can't get to it. I'm going to have to send it to California. It's probably going to take them 2 or 3 weeks to do this. I had to front it on my credit card because I had to pay for it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had insurance for this, and I had data loss. But now we're getting into cash flow. We were just coming out of COVID. I had a massive expense, not a lot of work coming in, and they did end up recovering like 93% of the files, which is
Wow.
incredible.
That's pretty good,
So
yeah.
the Drobo worked. Coincidentally, Drobo went out of business at the same time, so I couldn't call them for help.
Okay.
They were faltering. They went insoluble, and that was it, and they could no longer survive.
Okay.
So they closed up shop right when this was happening to me. So I had no tech help. I had nothing. So I had to pay roughly a $20,000 bill, get the information back. At this point, it was too late to get the information to the client. They decided not to continue with their client, fortunately, which pretty much saved me
Okay.
from being sued, most likely. And my insurance did cover it. But when you're a freelancer, everything's about cash flow.
Yeah.
And that was the most horrific experience
That'd be horrible.
I've ever dealt with. I lost the
Yeah.
client, of course. They're
Yeah.
like, it's not against you, but we can't tolerate that.
Yeah.
And then we're like, we know it's, quote unquote, an act of God. However, our client is so mad at us, this is
Yeah.
what we have to do.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
So I had to step away from that client and figure out how to fill the space.
Right.
Endurance again. Like no
Right.
matter what, you just pedal through it. Just keep pedaling. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter how fast, doesn't matter how slow. Stay breathing, keep your cadence,
Yeah.
and just keep moving through it.
So I bet you've seen a lot of photographers that aren't organized like you
Yeah.
are, and wouldn't be able to go retrieve that data
Correct.
or whatever, or didn't even have it set up. And I'd have to make.
It's a
I'd-
vast majority of them.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I would have to think that's a big difference maker in being successful in the business of it.
Yeah, and it gets kind of weird to think about this. I went to military school.
Right.
I was, for a very brief time, a summertime police officer in Massachusetts. I almost went in the military and then ended up in art. That's an
Like
unusual
structure,
combination.
Structure.
It is.
An artist.
Yeah, like it just, they don't really make sense.
Right.
But in a weird way, they do. Because everything in my job is backup, backup, backup. I'm going to show up on set. I've got to have backups for my batteries, backup for cameras. You got to think 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Then what's going to happen? How is that going to yield a result? What do I
Right.
do with that after? How do I manage all this? Ultimately, it's all the same thing.
Right.
You're using these highly technical devices. You're using technology.
Right.
And yet at the same time, it's also very physical. Like my job is physically demanding. I'm carrying
Right.
a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
I am moving around a great deal. I'm standing at really awkward positions for elongated periods of time. It can be extremely uncomfortable physically.
Right.
And then there's a psychological component to it where you're dealing with adversity constantly. And so how do you overcome it?
Right.
You have to adapt, improvise, overcome. Because everybody's going to tell you no.
Yeah.
I want to do this here. Well, no, we need this and that. Okay, I'll get that for you. You got to
Right.
figure it out constantly.
Yeah.
And I think that even though they seem disjointed, they lend themselves perfectly to each other.
Yeah. Well, if you weren't organized, you would have lost everything.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah,
permanently.
organization is
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it from looking at my office because in that regard I'm a typical artist. There's a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everything is very organized and it is backed up incessantly.
Yeah.
That no matter what, I'm always going to get it.
I've known you for years, and I've heard you talk about file management off and on
Yeah.
for years, here and there. I've heard you say it a little bit. Here
Yeah,
and there.
it's
So I knew that would be a big component.
It's extremely important.
Yeah.
Years ago, Adobe invited photographers from Detroit that were considered high volume photographers to go to the DIA, and they trained us for free about how to manage those assets, because it's been estimated that we lost 2 generations of our archives. Because when digital cameras were first coming out, and you did this, I did it, we would make photographs and then take the little drive out of the camera, the card out of the camera, and then save everything to a CD or a DVD, and then write on it with a Sharpie.
Right.
Most people were not conscious enough to think, well, did I get the acid-free Sharpie? And they wrote on the disc, and now that disc is trash.
Oh, wow.
So the example that Adobe gave us that was really interesting was they're like, okay, so let's imagine you have a kid, and that kid goes to play t-ball, and they end up playing with like the next massive home run champion that we're ever going to see, who just blows the record out of the water. And you go, wow, Timmy played t-ball with that kid years ago. Let me go get those images. Well, now they're gone.
Yeah.
So we've lost that archival information that was so important to ultimately 2 generations.
Yeah.
And I forget what the exact percentage, but something like 70% of that archive is gone.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And we'll never recover it. And that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
So really what you want to do is you want to store it in a redundant drive in your house. You want to have a backup drive that you put in a fire safe off-site someplace.
Yeah.
And now we can use the cloud. For large files, that can be tricky and it can tie up your line.
Right.
My files are large. It would tie me up. So I use the cloud to back up JPEGs, low-res samples. But I've got multiple backups in multiple places so that no matter what, even if you fail in 2 different places, you can go to a third.
With money, I see this as like having a budget. Like most people, when I talk about a budget, they're like, well, we know where we spend our money. And but if it's not on paper, you don't really know.
Right.
Like, you know,
It sneaks
really
up.
know. You think you know, but you don't know. And then the other thing is just not even knowing, you know, the basic stuff, your net worth and your balance sheet and all that stuff. And then, like you're saying with Adobe, if you don't track it, then the information's lost. And so then, if you don't know what you were worth 5 years ago, how do you know how well to pat yourself on the back for what you're worth today? Like, how do you celebrate milestones if you don't even have the data for what you were before?
Yeah, you can't track progress.
Or how you know when you're making a bad mistake either if you don't have the data. So I think in what I've seen you and how you run your business a little bit with the file, and you've mentioned file management. I've known you for years, and you bring that up every once in a while. I'm like, I bet he's got a really good file management system.
Yeah.
But with money, I think it's critically important. You've got to know where you spend your money. You got to have a budget, and you have to have the info. You've got to have a network. You have to know what you're worth. You
100%.
have to know where things are. And you have to have some method of managing it. You know, it can't be something you do every once in a while. Like if you've got a good management system in your business, or your files, or whatever, then it's reliable.
Sure.
It'll be useful. And if it's random,
I think there's one other small component to it.
yeah,
You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable,
okay,
because there's risk, especially if you're entrusting somebody else to give you advice that you want to intuitively trust them, but that in itself is uncomfortable. And so just when you get comfortable with something and complacent is usually when it fails. So you should probably be comfortable being on the cusp of uncomfortable all the time. That keeps you sharp and it keeps you watching. If you get too comfortable, you're going to sit back and be like, everything's fine.
yeah,
And it's not.
okay,
And I mean, it just like with what happened to me, an electrical storm.
yeah,
I was comfortable. I felt great. I was like, I don't need to do anything else. This is all fine. I've got it under control.
yeah,
Boom. And I would be willing to bet, I don't know this, but I'd be willing to bet that happens financially quite often.
yeah,
because people get comfortable and they get set in their ways and patterns. And in psychology, they talk about how people go home. Criminals physically go home. When they're running, the first place they're going to look for them is home. Where did they grow up? Psychologically speaking, people go back to what they know. Mm-hmm. And so if you've been abused your whole life, you're going to go seek out more abuse. Subconsciously, you're doing it.
Right.
So we're going to do that financially. That we're going to go to what we know.
Right.
And we're always looking for the path of least resistance. But you got to be willing to get uncomfortable with it. And I think that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Be willing to be uncomfortable, but not painful.
Right.
And finding a sweet spot with that and knowing that, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but that's because this is evolution.
Yeah.
You know, Detroit has gone through this rebirth that everybody likes to talk about, which is amazing in the time that I've lived here. And totally unprecedented. But just like any birth, it's noisy, painful, but look what it yields along the way. There's screaming and crying and all this horrific stuff coming at you. But look at the end result. And now when you look at Detroit with the longest river walk in the country and so many incredible things happening and people actually making it a choice to come here,
Right.
that's unusual. So look at what all the pain got us. Look at what the screaming and kicking and crying and blood and guts.
Yeah.
And it was hard,
Yeah.
but we're getting there.
I wanted to ask you about that end result as a photographer.
Yeah.
I've seen your work. You're really, really good.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's fantastic. How do you picture the end result when you go into a shoot, or what does that look like?
I think I usually have an idea of it, but I'm also very open to the evolution because 9 times out of 10, it's going to change.
Okay.
It's not going to be exactly what you envision. So you kind of have this sketch, if you will.
Okay.
But I think experience taught me you're having a big part of it is what we're doing right now. Before I photograph somebody, we're going to sit and talk for a while.
Okay.
And I want to let them know it's okay to have their guard down and also get to know them and let the instincts take over a little bit and get them comfortable so that they know that they're okay and they're safe. And I've seen that totally derail where maybe you make a joke or something and you realize that was the worst thing I possibly could have said.
Okay, yeah.
And it's happened. Like if you can think of a mistake in this industry, I have definitely made it.
Okay.
But things are always going to change and they're not going to be exactly what you thought. So as long as you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, be ready to pivot and be reactive in real time to things when they're happening, I think that's where you're going to get those truly dynamic, life-altering images that you're like, never in my wildest dreams did I think that's what it was going to be.
Okay.
But it's still one of the coolest things I ever made. And that's happened a lot.
Okay.
I had an instructor at New England School of Photography who was telling us that he had to photograph sports. I think it was for National Geographic. I'm almost sure it was. And he said the funny thing is that he's like, guys, I'm not a sports photographer. And they're like, yeah, that's why we want you to do it. So all right. So, he goes and he does the assignment for a couple of months. And he said that more often than not, he was looking 180 degrees from wherever the ball was or the puck or whatever the object was that all the public attention is on. Everybody else's attention is on that. And he's like, no, I'm photographing the opposing bench
Oh, really?
of the team that's getting destroyed right now.
Okay.
Because I'm seeing this raw emotion from them.
Okay.
So he took a very unconventional approach to it. So I think I am a very classic, timeless, elegant photographer. That's what I gravitate to.
Okay.
I look at the masters and those are the images that I just still to this day, I'm like, oh, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I want to take what I've learned from appreciating that and use it in a slightly more modern way if I can, but then be ready to totally turn it over.
Okay.
And do something the exact opposite. Always look 180 degrees, try something completely unconventional, if not in totality, in some component.
Okay.
So it's okay to be a provocateur, but I think you have to be careful doing that. I will employ that when I need to. More often than not, I'm trying to just create a moment with somebody and do something special. But there are some times that you've got to push somebody a little bit.
Right.
I'm not exactly comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's even the part of it where I'm like, I got to push a little further than
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with.
I would imagine that has to happen a lot.
Yeah, it does. So I have some
There's
idea.
some people that are probably just love to be photographed. There's a whole lot of people that are like, I'm a little nervous right now.
And that's most of the people that I
Yeah,
photograph.
I would
You know,
think
when I
so.
started my career in fashion photography, it's people who are very used to this.
Right.
Now it's people who are not used to this.
Yeah.
They see me coming with a camera, and
Yeah,
I'm
like,
like everybody's
ooh.
dental appointment.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll do it, but I don't really
Yeah.
want to be here. And then by the end, I'm like, nah, it was pretty painless. It was pretty
Yeah.
easy. I'm like, yeah, actually, I had a good time.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's when I know I did something right.
I like how you describe that with you've got an idea with the images, but be ready to pivot, and it may not be what you had in mind. And again, with money tying it into that, like you might envision a future. Again, it's 20 years
Yeah.
down the road. Oh my God! And then it doesn't stop just because you retired. All of a sudden, it's not like,
Right.
you know, that it's maybe 50 years down the road.
And maybe learning
You
how
know,
to manage it in
yeah.
a different way, because now you have to pull from it a
Right.
little bit more. And
But you got to be ready for that entire vision. And then, however, you're adjusting a lot, I'm sure, along the way.
yeah, and
But at least you're establishing what you think is possible, what you think this outcome might be.
yeah, and you're watching it evolve in real time.
Okay.
And so you have to be very present in that
Okay.
moment with whoever's in front of the lens, and know that you can see if they're feeling uncomfortable. You can see if they're feeling great. You can see if they're about to open up. You can see if they're about to have a moment of clarity that they're going to all of a sudden pop and be on, and you're like, I'm ready for it. So you have to be ready and trust yourself enough to know that whatever unfolds in front of you, you're going to feel comfortable dealing with it in any capacity.
Okay.
I would say the utmost of authenticity and honesty. I will tell anybody in front of my lens anything about my life. No holds barred. It's way more personal than probably people are aware of or expecting. And it's because if you're in front of my lens, I expect you to be vulnerable. I am going to be just as vulnerable as I expect you to be with me. And I don't tell them that. Sometimes I do, but more often than not, they just sense it.
Okay.
And so when they realize that, I think it softens them. And they realize, again, I'm not here just to take something.
Yeah.
This isn't transactional. This is something that we're building together. And more often than not, it works.
You know, it's interesting. This is a little different than my fly fishing example where I said I just put the fly where it goes. But you do seem to really understand elements of what makes you good. And I think some people that are good don't really know. You know, it's you get why things are working.
I became interested in the psychology of it.
Oh, there we go.
So I mentioned this to you.
Okay.
I read a book. I became really interested in Bruce Lee
Okay.
because I heard his daughter on a podcast.
Oh, wow.
She had turned 50, and she had gone through different iterations in her career. Most people know Bruce Lee as a martial arts expert, but he was a phenomenal philosopher. And hearing his daughter talk about having to step out of the shadow of a famous father, become her own person, was very interesting. And for some reason, I instantly thought, wow, like studying more of this could really help me connect with people better. Because really, that's my job, is to connect with somebody. And the only way you're going to connect with somebody is if you're vulnerable, as vulnerable to them as they are going to be to you. That's the only way that works. So I had to let my guard down. I came from a pretty flawed father.
Okay.
And so having to step out of the shadow of him, and even though I grew up on the East Coast, this is kind of crazy. I came here to Michigan, and there were people that I met that knew my dad from the 70s and 80s here in Michigan, even though he was from Massachusetts, because they remembered him.
Oh.
And they recognized me, and they're like, you've got to be Ralph Ziegler's son.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, how
would
on
you do that? Yeah.
earth? Because I stand like him. Like, I have those attributes of him. And he gave me some great attributes. He also gave me some that I don't love, and I had to learn how to step out from that. So that's what Shannon Lee's book was there for me to do.
Okay.
And it helped me become a better director, and because that's ultimately what we're doing as a photographer even. We're directing to some degree. But most importantly, it got me to understand my own soul deeper so that I could connect with other people better. And once I was able to do that and really tap into it, and it's not something that happens instantly, it becomes a practice. Reading his philosophies the way that they were written in the 60s and 70s was a lot. She basically reinterpreted it and took over the family's business. And she had a podcast that accompanies the book. And I listened to it twice from beginning to end.
Oh, wow.
And it totally changed my perspective on myself, on my business, on everything. And it's really about self-awareness.
Okay.
And how do you make that work for yourself? One of the things that he was so famous that I use all the time for talking about was, don't disparage yourself. Your body doesn't know the difference. Even if you're joking about it, you can say all these horrible jokes about yourself. But if you walk around on the streets and you'll see tons of people cowering.
Okay.
These very well are probably the same people that are disparaging themselves inadvertently, not even understanding that what they're doing to themselves. So a real simple way to combat that is make somebody laugh. They're going to feel so ridiculous laughing because they're faking it and they know it and they feel stupid that instinctively they start to really laugh and then a real smile comes out. I hate asking people to smile to be photographed. I'm never going to say that to you.
Right.
You're never going to hear me say, let's see a big smile.
Yeah. Right.
I'm more interested in the authenticity, but there are times that I need an authentic smile from somebody.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that was a way to do it.
Okay.
But that's one little thing that I learned about human behavior from this. And so this has been a huge evolution that I've gone through, and I'm still going through it, and it changes everything. But it's all ultimately human behavior and knowing yourself. That's ultimately what I had to do.
Okay.
Ask yourself one simple question. Most people actually struggle, and they'll be struck by this and not really be able to answer it. What is it you truly want? And just watch somebody fumble over that for a while.
Yeah.
Because they don't maybe necessarily feel comfortable saying what they really want. Bruce Lee just said, express yourself honestly all the time in everything you do. What a beautiful quality. Same thing with the compliments, right? So compliment people. Tell them these awesome things about themselves.
Right.
So now, even though I'm not a fashion photographer, I take the tools that I learned in fashion photography and I apply them to real people, because every person should know just how awesome they can look. So few people get that experience.
Right.
That's the best part about my job, is that I get to show somebody who didn't think they'd photograph well, and 95% of the people that I step in front of go, I'm just not very photogenic. I'm like, just wait.
Yeah.
You have no idea just how awesome you can look. You
Right.
just have to not care. And the minute you don't care and we get to figure this out, it's going to be great. Just trust me on it. And that's the intuition, the trust, knowing that no matter who it is that's in front of me, I can make them look awesome.
Okay.
Part of that is connection, and part of it is the tools and tricks of the trade, and part of it is ultimately intuition.
Yeah. Well, the philosophical side, I think, is huge in money too, because we have so many behaviors and so many things within us that why we do what we do, why we think we can accomplish something or not accomplish something, or even just in my life growing up, very, very deep-rooted Catholic family. Money's bad, but that was back in the day when people lived off of a pension and Social Security.
Yeah.
Now you have to accumulate money, and there's nothing bad about it.
Yeah, or else you won't make it.
I know.
It's going to be a hard stop at a certain
But it is
day.
interesting, all these things. If you don't understand the philosophical side of yourself, you don't know sometimes why you're doing what you're doing.
And I learned this from a friend of mine, this guy Rodrigo that I went to school with, who still is a phenomenal businessman, great photographer. He's got a little empire in Boston. I see his website. We haven't spoken in a long time, but I'll never forget him saying to me, he was going to another photographer was speaking, and I was like, well, why are you going to see that guy speak? Like, that's not what you do. And he said, yeah, but I can always learn from somebody. Like, this guy's a great photographer. No matter what, I can always learn from somebody. What a great philosophy. And so I started employing it. No matter what, I can always learn. So even though Be Water, my friend, is a deep philosophical root, most people wouldn't think of it in art or in communicating with other people. I can learn from that because Bruce Lee was a very dynamic character, and he had something that most human beings don't have today, and certainly don't understand. Just watch him. Watch how he delivers his talks, how he enunciates. He had a cadence unlike anybody else. He had such an intuitive way of communicating with other human beings. It was spectacular. The fact that we lost him, I would have been so curious to know what he would have been like as like a 75-year-old.
Right.
And like you can kind of look at Jackie Chan that way now.
Yeah.
And because we knew him as this action star who studied, but really he was this incredible technician who loved to build stunts.
Yeah.
And so what's he done now? Moved that on and like turned other people into incredible stuntmen and taught people how to do this type of work. And he's become a very good actor on his own. But what would have Bruce Lee have done? What would he have accomplished? How would he have trained other people to communicate differently? Because that's what his true love was. He did the artistry on screen because he enjoyed it and it paid the bills, but he considered himself a philosopher. That's what he wanted to do.
Wow.
It's just something people don't know about him.
Yeah.
But I could definitely learn from that. It's not a conventional way of learning,
Right.
especially in my industry.
Right.
And it's not a textbook. But man, watch that guy communicate with another person, and it's just amazing. Watch him in an interview. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Okay.
And I think anybody can learn how to express themselves truly. Really think about that. It's tricky.
Yeah.
Like even I struggle with it.
Yeah.
And sit in an office room sometime and try to communicate with somebody completely authentically, not with the answer they're expecting to hear, what they hope to hear, what they think they might hear, but really be 100% honest in your communication.
Okay.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Now, the opposite end of that, what physical tools does a photographer need to do their trade?
Everybody's going to say the eyes. Obviously, we have to have composition through our sight, color communication for some people, but black and white is stunning. I think it's two other organs that you need. I think you need heart and brain. Because again, you have to start thinking about what is it I want out of this? Where do I want to go with it? What do I want to get? How do I want to communicate this? What am I trying to say? That's your brain, that's your intuition, that's your instincts. And when I say heart, I mean love. Like you have to, I love what I do. I feel so fortunate that I get to do this as a profession because so few people do. So few people get to make it a full-time passion, and I get to do that, and I get paid to do that. It's amazing to me. But you really have to love it. And when you love something and you can express that to other people and they see it and they feel it coming from you, they're going to respond in kind. So when people see me getting all jazzed up and they, that moment when I'm like, oh, that was the shot, that was it, amazing, I can keep doing it, it's not going to get better. And I can show them that image, and when I'm amped up about it, they will be too. They might be more reserved if I'm reserved. So I'm going to always be a bit off the wall and express that to them with my love for what I do.
All right, so interestingly, what I thought you were going to say, and the reason I was asking the question, you need a camera, you need a light, you need a computer to edit the physical things. And I was relating that to you need a 401k, you need this, you need that. But interestingly, your answer instead is much different than I expected. But and maybe this can be a struggle with money because some people just aren't passionate about the accumulation of it or whatever. However, it's just an honest interview. I'm glad you answered the way you did. I think somehow, I guess, we're all going to have to find some passion on the financial side within that job of accumulating. I don't know. And maybe that's the challenge. Like I'm trying to do this podcast where we're talking with a professional about what they do really well and how those things can relate to money. But one of the things I didn't think about is the professional might have an extreme passion around their profession, but not that passion around the money. So even though there could be relatable tasks or whatever, maybe that's one of the big challenges is how do we find some level of passion on the financial side? Because without that,
Yeah, I
you're
think
probably
that's
not going to drive it much, because you very much, when I asked that question, you very much went right to the passion, which is an appropriate response. That's the true response, and that's the difference maker.
It could also be that I misunderstood what you meant by physical.
Yeah, I know, but still, that's the powerful thing. And if somebody had some passion for, like, it sounds silly, but like I'm worth, $700,000, and I want to be worth $1 million by the end of the year. If they had passion in that, they'd make that thing happen, somehow.
Nothing wrong with that.
Maybe it'd take 2 years, and but most people aren't passionate about the dollar amount.
Right, and
it seems kind of greedy, and why would you be?
They might become passionate when they see the cause and effect, though.
Yeah.
Like that may be
Or
a way to
finding
stoke
something
that.
else besides just that dollar amount that you become.
I agree.
But I'm glad I asked it, and I'm glad you answered the way you did, because without some level of passion toward the finances, somewhere in there, in the finances, then you're probably not going to drive it.
Yeah. So I want to back up, and I want to answer the question that I realize now you were asking. Because I answered
but I'm
it.
glad you answered the way you did.
No, it's a good conversation.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to go back and answer it more. So I would say you need tools because you have to do the job.
Right.
So yeah, you need a camera, you need some lights, but those are all things that I think a lot of people, they get hung up on.
Okay.
And they think they need expensive gear.
Okay.
They need, a manual fancy camera. No, look, you can do it with your phone and a flashlight and a pillowcase and like the most basic thing in the world. You can make stunning photographs out of. So I could see that translating to finance too. People will get hung up and go, well, I don't have any of that crazy stuff.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You need a nest egg. You need seed money. You need something to start with. Once you have that,
right,
you can get started and you can grow it and you can make it bigger and bigger and bigger. That's where endurance would come in.
Right.
You just have to stick to it and keep going.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's. Yeah.
So it's a two-pronged answer. I just went for the more subliminal side to myself.
Yeah, but that's the difference maker, that one, the passion. But on the physical thing, I do think people, like you mentioned the cameras in the beginning, the f-stop and all that, Canon and Nikon and whatever, and a person can get overwhelmed with the finances. You need a 401k. Hopefully it's a Roth 401k. You need a brokerage account. You need a 529 plan if you got kids. You need an HSA account if you have a high deductible plan. But at the end of the day, there's only like 5 tools you need.
Right. And
it's not that many.
Once I see people that are interested in photography,
right,
once I explain to them, like, look, the camera is just a tool.
Right.
It's just a tool. It doesn't have a soul. You can buy a new one.
Right.
These are just tools. It's the same as a hammer, as a blowtorch. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Once you learn how to work it properly, I can use a camera from 15 years ago to do my job on a daily basis. I'm going to get the best tools I possibly can because I'm in a position where I can afford to do that for my business.
Right.
That ensures more work and it's better for my clients, but I don't need it.
Right.
It just makes my job better, and it's going to make me deliver images maybe faster, bigger files for advertising, that sort of thing.
Right.
So yes, they're important. Are they necessary? No.
Right.
Like at this point, you can use a phone for just about anything.
Right.
And like the new iPhone the camera in it is stunning.
Right.
And I will turn over files to my clients that I shoot behind the scenes or stuff that I've just shot on my phone because, hey, I just happen to see something on my camera's over there, but click.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So you should not ever feel limited by not having the most expensive modern tools that are out there. It's much more important about
don't get overwhelmed by
it's the passion and the soul,
the extent of the possibilities.
Yeah. But it's your passion and soul that really matters. I've seen some of the most stunning images come out of photographers that have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
But they definitely have some gift going on.
Yeah.
And keep working on that. Like it's an evolution. It takes time, and it's not something you're just gonna. Tradesmen are really interesting because they become masters, and it takes a long time. And you can't force that to happen. You have to let time take its course. You can keep studying and practice and practice and practice.
Yeah.
But just like training on a bike or training to run long distances, it's time in the saddle.
Yeah.
Time in the saddle.
God, time in the saddle.
That's it. You can
Yeah.
ride as
I know,
hard as
I
you want to
know.
go,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter. It's just ride every day
Yeah.
and slowly increase the mileage,
Right.
slowly, 20,
Yeah.
30, 40, 50, and keep going.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, 130 miles?
Yeah, I
No
know.
problem.
Becoming rich or wealthy, whatever name you want to give it, is just simply, its wealth is created in small increments over a very long period of time.
Yeah.
And that time in the saddle, ever since I started biking, it's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. People think it happens suddenly, or people think, oh, that person can ride 130 miles. They're born that way.
Yeah, no.
You had time in the saddle.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
you put the work in.
Right.
That's the discipline.
Right.
So even with photography, I'm sitting here talking about passion and intuition and heart and
Yeah.
brain, but
Right.
then there's discipline with it too, and that you
Right.
have to practice. You have to go out and you have to make imagery. You have to run your business. You have to go out and be disciplined. You have to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's really easy to sit around in a robe or sweats all day,
Right.
but I have to get up.
Every week you got to take pictures.
Yes. And even when I don't want to, I have plenty of, everybody thinks this is very glamorous.
Yeah.
My job is not glamorous.
Right.
But I have a couple great clients that are really lucrative.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm like, oh, I have to do more of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the discipline.
Yeah.
You go, no matter what, like, that's what the money's for.
Yeah.
They're paying me for a service. I'm
Right.
going to deliver the best possible imagery I can.
Yep.
So I'm going to take this really rough environment, make it look amazing, and deliver a product where whoever's in front of my camera looks dynamite
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yep.
And that's ultimately what they're paying me for. A lot of times people think that as a professional artist or a commercial artist, you get paid for creativity or talent. I totally disagree.
Okay.
You get paid for certainty.
Okay.
Okay, your clients are choosing you because, and I know this about myself, and this would be like where the military background came in. Even though I didn't serve, I had enough background that I came up in this military environment that it is still very much with me. No matter what, the job gets done. If I say I'm going to be there,
Right.
I will be there no matter what.
Yeah.
So when I get on a plane, I have gear that comes on the plane with me, and I have gear that gets packed. Because if I show up and all my baggage is lost, one, the insurance company gets a call, but then no matter what, I have to shoot the job.
Right.
So I have to have gear no matter what that I can shoot the job with that's on my person at all times.
Yep.
My clients pay me for certainty.
Right.
When they hire me, they know instantly, now I can clear my desk and I can move on to the next task because Brad's got it.
Yep.
And I have instilled that in them that no matter what, I will be there, the job will get done.
Yep.
It may not be what we initially envisioned or whatever, like
Yeah.
there could be a rainstorm or a windstorm, doesn't matter, it gets done.
Yeah.
We will always find a way.
Yeah. I would always tell my boys, and I think I'm sure I have it in the book too, but you earn an income by solving problems.
Yes.
And that's the best job security you could ever have if you're
Yeah.
solving problems. And if you don't have certainty, you're creating a problem. And so I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and oftentimes I'll refer to myself as a creative problem solver.
Yeah.
Like that's really what I'm doing. My advertising clients, they have a budget.
Yep.
They have a job. It has to get done. They've signed off on it.
Yep.
They're entertaining me as the photographer for that,
Right.
for a reason. And some of that is artistic, but more often than not, it has much more to do with certainty.
Yeah.
That no matter what, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because they're going to blow 50 grand a day by accident if it doesn't happen.
Right.
That gets pricey fast.
Yeah.
And sometimes way more than that.
Yeah.
So it can be
I
really
imagine
scary.
some productions are pretty big.
Yeah, some of them are huge.
A lot involved in them.
Yeah, I've been on film sets where I'm shooting advertising along
Yeah.
with the film crew.
Yeah.
And, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars
Oh,
per
yeah.
day
Yeah.
and multiple days.
Yeah.
And one thing goes wrong and gets put on hold, and you're just watching
Yeah.
the money go out the window instantly. And there are contingency plans for that. When I was just an assistant and we were shooting a swimsuit catalog in Mexico, we had 2 cyclones come in on us at the same time. We were in Puerto Vallarta. And I didn't realize it at the time.
How
but
many years ago was that?
This was in 1996.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, yeah. that
Yeah,
makes sense.
96.
Pre-internet, because these
Oh, yeah.
days the weather app would probably have given you a heads up.
We got stuck at the hotel, and I'm watching the poor client just
Yeah.
like the worst expression on his face
Oh,
because
yeah.
we couldn't move.
Yeah.
We're now into the hotel.
Yeah.
He's paying for the models. He's
Yeah.
paying for the makeup artist.
Yeah.
He's paying the photographer, and he's paying me on a
Right.
daily rate.
Right.
And on top of that, he's responsible for our food,
Yeah.
our insurance,
Yeah.
all these things. And it was, I think, the greatest business lesson. We got home, and Kevin probably doesn't really remember doing this, but Kevin made a phone call. We got out on the last flight before they shut the airport down, but we were delayed at the hotel for a couple days. So couldn't shoot, couldn't do anything. I'm guessing the client probably was like $100,000 in the hole for this, maybe more. It had nothing to show for it.
Right.
Kevin makes a phone call, gets us a hotel. We go home, we sleep for a couple days at home base, and then we went out and finished the project. Kevin gave that client certainty. And he was like, no matter what, I can fix this for you.
Right.
So he had contacts, he made some calls, and he's like, I got a backup location.
Right.
We got it.
Okay.
Done. And what client isn't going to be like, I know who I'm hiring next
Right,
time again?
exactly, yeah.
Return business every time.
Yep.
So most of my clients I have had for well over 15 years at this
Yeah.
point because of that. It's very, very rare, except when my Drobo gets blown up, that I lose a client.
Right. Yeah.
Although recently, as I mentioned to you, like I had a rough week because I had another client go insolvent
Yeah.
due to something else. It wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
But that was a huge financial hit.
Yeah.
So the other aspect of my job is that I have to have contingency plans for everything.
Right.
And years ago, I heard this from a consultant that I worked with. Think like a surfer.
Okay.
Several waves out, several sets of waves out. The minute you're complacent with that one wave,
Yeah.
look out, because
Right.
something's going to happen when you
Right.
least expect it. And man, did it happen.
Yeah.
So here, like I lost this huge client that I loved working for.
Right.
I love the assignment. I love the client. Like everything about it was amazing, phenomenal. And then poof.
Right.
So how do you recover from that? You just have to keep going out, slog, find something to fill it in, and maybe take that opportunity, look 180 degrees,
Right.
and go, maybe it's time to diversify.
Right.
Maybe it's time to work on my own work that I have been putting off and putting off and putting off.
Yep.
Now I have the time.
Yep.
I may not have the capital that I wanted to invest in that, but I can figure something out.
Right.
And along with COVID, a very good example of have a lot of reserve.
Mm-hmm.
So that's being a freelancer. You know, all the kids coming through CCS right now and the young students that are like, I want to be a freelancer. I'm like, be careful what you wish for.
Right.
It comes with a whole set of challenges that people don't consider. Try buying a house as a freelancer. Because a bank is going to go, well, what do you make?
Right. Yeah.
Which year?
Yeah. Right.
And they're going to take an average.
Yeah.
But of course, the things that you're doing to keep your tax implication low work against you in that
When
regard.
it comes to the mortgage part. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're really up a tree.
Yeah.
And, you know, it can get really, really dicey.
Yeah.
So, like, I've never owned a brand new car.
Yeah.
I buy really good used cars.
Yeah.
It just always seemed like
I bought one new car. I've always had used cars in my life too.
yeah, but
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
does the job for me. It's utilitarian. It's my rolling office. So as long as it's comfortable for me, my clients,
Yeah.
it does the job and it's reliable. That's the most important thing to me. It's not a fashion item. It's utilitarian.
So that contingency aspect, that to me, financial planning, I think that's like it's one of the biggest roles that I have is to remove as many unknowns as possible.
Yeah.
Set people up so that, you know, when they are retired, they the most likelihood for success. And so it's looking for the things that can go wrong or the things, what's the weakest link in the mix that would develop 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Because you can't pivot very easily with money. Like, you know, a Roth IRA is infinitely better than a pre-tax IRA because it's tax-free.
Yeah.
But if you've done a pre-tax for 30 years, you don't suddenly like move it from one to the other. You know, so setting yourself up with contingencies and to reduce failure is something that happens over many, 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 many years in small increments, you know, getting ready for it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And like the most basic lesson, it's not what you have here.
yeah,
It's what you have here in your pocket, you know, deep down. And
right,
I do see many young people that they want the new car,
yeah,
they want the big house,
yeah,
and they stretch themselves really thin financially
yeah,
when you're much better off. Like once you understand compound interest and what that can do for you, and you want to make your money work for you.
yeah,
And once you understand that you can do that, it becomes a very, very powerful and liberating thing to do.
yeah,
So instead of maybe buying a brand new car, maybe get something that was 4 years old
right,
and it's got 40,000 miles on it. Get a
Yeah.
Toyota, it'll last forever.
Yeah.
And like free up some of that income so that you can put it someplace that it will actually start working for you.
yeah. In general, I think we see our income as what's necessary to pay our bills and do what we want to do, and I see our income as something that makes us wealthier, which then pays our bills and lets us do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And I think we've got the wrong purpose for why we work. I mean, I don't work my tail off to pay my bills.
Right.
I work my tail off to become a wealthier person.
Right.
And then I let that wealth pay my bills.
You bring up one of my favorite concepts right now,
Okay.
mission and purpose,
Okay.
which are different, but they work together. And came from my World War II veterans.
Okay.
And when you have purpose, that's your drive, that's your passion. So isolate what your purpose is. And this could be something that when you can instill in somebody that their purpose is to become wealthier. The mission is to gain freedom that way, financial freedom.
Okay.
But the purpose is to become wealthier so that you can have that freedom and you can do whatever you want with it. And you are no longer bound to that job. You are no longer bound to anything. You have the ability to make the decisions. But mission and purpose, although different, are in symbionts together and really, really important. When you lose purpose, that's what happens to soldiers when they leave the battlefield. They're losing their mission and their purpose. And they struggle with that. They're lost. They really, like I've heard it many, many times from veterans. I didn't know what my purpose was anymore. And so in psychology, they go back to normal, right? So
Right.
they struggle psychologically with this and they really have a hard time with it. They've been trained forever about how to become a soldier. They're not trained how to become a citizen again.
Right.
You know, they're given 2 weeks to figure that out.
Right.
So the military is getting better at this, but mission and purpose is a very deep and important concept. And I don't think we're really taught much about it.
Right.
But that's an important mission and purpose is
It
to
is.
gain wealth
It is. Yeah.
so that you can get freedom
Right.
to do what you want to do with your life, to live your life, and to be able to go on those beautiful vacations with your kids, or build the house that you want to have, or just be able to pursue a different profession possibly that might be a bit of a risk,
Yeah.
but now you're financially capable of taking that risk. And so it frees you up. My first job that I had out of college was at a headhunting firm. And my salary that I was being paid was less than the boss paid for a parking spot
Oh wow.
because it was in Boston
Right.
and it was in Harvard. And I'll never forget that moment when I was like, I can barely pay my bills on this. And yet the parking spot for the boss costs more per year. What are they making?
Right.
That was an eye-opening experience. And literally, walking to that job one day, I saw a photographer. I'd already been an assistant and worked, but I was afraid to go all in on it. I was afraid to commit to it, so I took a job. Walking across Harvard Square, I saw an editorial portrait photographer doing a job. I quit that day. I went in and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I have to try this. I have to see if I can make this work.
Yeah.
I heard those echoes in my head from Colonel Westoven. You're going to regret it. Don't. Regret's a hard thing to live with. If you try and fail, that's okay.
Right.
But regret is a really hard thing to live with.
Yeah.
So I had to try it. Here I am.
I'm glad you did. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Yeah.
most times.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's not without its trials and tribulations,
Yeah.
but I feel very fortunate.
Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to share? I think that's an amazing place to bring it to mission and purpose, but I don't know if you had anything else in mind.
I guess the last thing I would say is, artistically speaking, and I'm sure that there's a way to translate this, don't ever forget where you came from, what made you passionate about something, where you wanted to go with it, what you wanted to do. And I'll show you this afterwards, but I have a folder of these things.
Okay.
Because it was the first, I came across it during the move, as you know, Rebecca and I are in an apartment while our house is being built. And I've got a tub of this stuff.
Okay.
And it was like all my archives.
Okay.
And it's literally where I came from as a photographer. The first portfolio I ever truly put together. I was still shooting film. This was probably from late 90s into very early 2000s, like right after September 11th. And I put together this portfolio. And recently I went to an editor, because I'm not a good editor of my own work.
Okay.
And she starts pulling all this stuff. And she's a reputable editor. She's worked with publications we all know about.
Yeah.
And she's like, 90s are back.
Okay.
So she wants me to put all this stuff up on my new website and update my work with it. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, God, you're right. Like, I kind of forgot about this stuff. And it really is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because my premise was always, I heard this from Ralph Lauren in an interview. Everybody thinks he's a fashion designer. And he's like, I'm not a fashion designer. That's way too fast for me. He said, but style, that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So if you look at his garments, they haven't changed all that much from like 1968, 1969. They're pretty true to that still.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted for my photography. That really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I want to make beautiful, timeless, elegant images of people, hopefully with somewhat of a modern twist,
Right.
that in 30 years I can look back on and be like, they still hold true.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, she spotted this stuff and was like, they still hold true.
Yeah.
So don't ever forget where you came from. Like, don't ever hesitate to look back at some of that stuff. Those foundations, we may evolve, we may turn into different creatures along the way, but always go back to those roots once in a while. Don't ever forget where you came from. It's really important to remember why you started doing something,
Right.
how you got there, what took you through it, and more importantly, maybe what was that first thing that you went, oof, that's it right there.
Right.
Figure that out. Keep it close. So like I carry this book with me.
Yeah.
I carry these things physically close with me. And to some people that might seem a little crazy, but it just makes me feel a little more comfortable. And every once in a while, just seeing it in my case that I carry with me, it's just that reminder that you need. Like, don't let go of where you came from, of your core, of the thing that made you uniquely you, that wonderful imperfection.
Yeah.
Or as I like to say now, that originality.
Yeah.
That's what makes us all totally different from each
Yeah.
other. That's the best part of it.
Imagine how boring the world would be for
Ugh.
us.
All the plastic surgery, man.
Well, your photos are your assets, and I'm really glad that you value them and you hang on to them too.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
got all these, and they're coming back around 30 years later. And
Yeah.
you've managed them, you've held them, you've secured them, you've protected them, and they're still coming back for you.
Yeah, that's my legacy.
Yeah,
That's what I built.
that's awesome.
So thanks so much for having me, man. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Brad. Man, love you, man, and I'm glad I've known you all over all these years, and I'm
Yeah, me too.
glad we get to ride bikes together. And
Yeah. Next, I get to go get a plaid jersey next year.
yeah, sounds good. All right, buddy. Thanks, man.
All right.
Good.
Ta-da!